Put your hands together for Lewis, everyone.
My journey occurred when I was just a teenager. It involved my grandfather and his farm, which was located in the southern part of Somerset County, near the village of Wellersburg. The farm was a wonderful place. I, as a young person, thought of it as paradisial. A wonderful herd of Guernsey cattle, 2 apple orchards, coal mine, maple sugar camp. It was a wonderful place. I went there as often as I could. In fact, I spent several summers there as a teenager and became very close to my uncle, Uncle Paul, who was 4 years my senior. In fact, I was much closer to him than I was to any of my siblings. My grandfather, who was a typical Pennsylvania Dutchman, and I stood in awe of him for many, many years. He was what we would call a subsistence farmer. And he had what I call a hierarchy of responsibilities. And this hierarchy was based on safety and made a lot of sense. For instance, there were things that grandfather could do that nobody else could do. There were things that my Uncle Paul could do that I could not do. And there were things I could do. For instance, grandfather could feed the threshing machine. Threshing machine was a man-eater. If you got your hands too close to the feed, threshing machine would grab you. And it had been known to kill people. So only Granddad could do that. Uncle Paul could use the mowing machine. I often helped my grandfather sharpen the cutter bar on the mowing machine. If you step off of the mowing machine on the right side, forgot to take it out of gear, and the horses happened to go forward, your legs could be amputated. So it was also a very dangerous machine. The dump rake I could use if the horse got excited, ran away. You might be thrown off of the dump rake and tumbled in the hay, but you really couldn't be hurt very much. Now, the hay wagon was another thing. If it was loaded and we're coming down from the high fields, Granddad drove it. Otherwise, Paul could drive it. I was usually not permitted to do that, but grandfather occasionally had excess hay that he offered for sale. And Johnny Kennel, who lived partway from our house to the village of Wellersburg, raised beef cattle, and he occasionally bought hay. So on this particular occasion, he was buying a load of hay from grandfather, and I was permitted to drive. Now, one thing you need to understand about a wagon is that as it runs on a dirt road, it makes a certain sound that horses heard and learned to know. So it was not unusual at all. However, on this particular trip from the farm to Johnny Kennel's, we had to go over a bridge. Now, this bridge simply had loose boards on it, and the sound of the wagon wheel on those boards made an entirely different sound. This disturbed the horses. They got out of order, and in my effort to try to keep them on the road, we turned the wagon over. Now, I was thrown free. Horses were tangled up. I jumped up. I was not injured at all, and got the trace chains unfastened, got the yoke chains unfastened, got the horses up on their feet, and they were really shook up. Johnny Kennel was working in the field nearby, came running over, and he said, "Lewis, looks like you have some trouble." I said, "Yes." I unfortunately turned the wagon over. Well, he said, "We better get the horses up to the barn, get them quieted down, a little bit of water, some grain, and then we'll take care of the wagon." So I said, "Well, Granddad's not going to like this." So we went up, got the horses straightened out. He said, "Now come on in and have some lunch." I said, "No, Granddad's not going to be unhappy with the time that we're wasting." "No," he said, His wife was a wonderful cook. We had a wonderful lunch. We're sitting on the porch, rocking and talking. And I said, come on, we better get down there and get the wagon taken care of. He said, by the way, where is your grandfather today? I said, hell, he's under that load of hay.
Lewis, everybody.